and gentlemen. I call to order the Finance Committee meeting, July 11th, 2023. Roll call. Madam Secretary, Councilman Wagaspack, Councilman Melanson, the Chairman Mason, who's ill and doesn't have a voice, Corey Orgeron, and who else? Coach, or absent, okay? I'd ask everyone to rise for invocation and pledge. Dempsey, please help us with that.
Yeah, please, let's bow. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Please give us the wisdom and strength to move our parish forward with the finance. We ask all these things in your Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dempsey. Under Chair's additions, I have none. Madam Secretary, show that Councilman Melanson is here. I have no Chair's additions, and Michael didn't tell me any that he wanted to introduce. So under the public comment period, if anyone wishes to speak on an agenda item, get a red card if you're opposed, green card if you're in favor of, from the secretary there, fill it out and present it to her. And when that agenda item comes up, we will call you forward to speak. Moving along, item 5, general business. Item A, approval of amendment number 2 to the professional services contract with I.C.E. Sales and Service LLC to increase the total amount by an additional $25,000. Total new contract not to exceed amount is $75,000. Is Mr. Dawson here?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Dempsey. Do I get a second?
I'll second.
Motion, second by Joel. Any opposition? There being none, motion carries. Item B, approval of renewal of master services contract between Ascension Parish Government and Enmon Enterprises doing business as Jani-King of Baton Rouge for 1 year beginning August 18, 2023, with an option to renew for 1 consecutive year after the 1 year period ends. Total amount of the contract is $1,036,172. Mr. Compton.
Good evening. I don't have anything to add. This is a renewal with no cost increase.
Same price as we've been paying.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I need a motion. Motion by motion by Terry, second by Chase. Any other comments? Any questions? Any objection? There being none, that motion carries. Item C, approval to amendment number 1 contract for grass cutting services with MD Lawn Service and Pressure Washing LLC to include additional cuts at various locations. Total amount $40,600 for a new contract not to exceed amount of $182,140. Mr. King or Ricky?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Chase,
I'll second it.
second by Dempsey, but I think we have some questions. I do. What are the additional cuts for various locations? We've been through this not too long ago, haven't we?
Yes, sir. So this body approved the administration the ability to sign contracts up to $150,000 as long as we were using the application GOMO that we're contracted with to solicit for bids. During that process, we mapped out all of the locations that were bid, and one vendor won all of the sites. As we've been going through this, there have been some growing pains, and we realized that some of our maps were inaccurate. And so the vendor has challenged us, hey, you're not paying me to cut that. So we've gone through and modified the map. He's re-quoted. And because we only had one bidder and it's a service contract, we feel comfortable just amending this contract. We do have 3 more sites that we're going to be putting out to bid before the end of the year. The new Council on Aging site in Prairieville, the roundabout, the Panther roundabout, and there's one more I can't remember. But that will be going the spray park at Dutchtown. We are going through the GOMO app for those, and those will be rebid out.
Okay. Any other questions?
And the additional acre in Keystone in the back?
So beyond the bridge,
Yes,
do we own that?
we own that.
Okay, so we can,
It was donated to the parish for recreation.
so we can add that and rebid it. It won't be part of this amendment because that's a new site that we'll rebid out.
Okay.
Those bids will go out this year or next year for those?
They'll go out
extra-
probably in the next 30 days.
Okay.
Basically, I've had several vendors reach out here recently, and so I've added 4 new vendors in the last 2 months. And so I'm going to send out an email alert so they're aware, hey, we're going to put out 4 new sites for rebid. We'll open those up for a week, and then we'll get to mowing on those sites.
Okay. I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion, questions?
Yeah.
Councilman Robert.
So if I understand this correctly, this $40,600, we're looking at about 22.5% of, hey, we didn't know we were supposed to cut that?
No, so part of that error was in the bidder. And when we bid on airline highway, there was a calculation error. So we only cut airline 6 times. We're adding 12 cuts to airline, so those are additional cuts. So that was, I think, I want to say 18 or 22,000 of that amount.
So you're saying 18 or 22,000 of us adding additional cuts, meaning multiple, like of the same place, or?
Same place.
So the other, what is it, 20,000 or 18,000 is, we didn't know we were supposed to cut that?
Correct.
And
It was, we knew we were supposed to cut it. The map that we put into the software was done too generally. And so we're talking about pieces that weren't
No,
getting cut
and I
that
got
should have
you.
been.
But what I'm getting at is, nobody else bid on any of these sites? You said they just won all the sites. You didn't say nobody else bid, right?
So there were, I want to say, 10 sites that had a bid. When this vendor came in, he bid on every site and no one else bid.
Nobody bid on any site?
Excuse me?
No one bid on any one site other than that one guy?
So it works in a reverse order. So once he put his bid in, he was the low bidder and nobody wanted to underbid him.
Okay, well, I don't want to hold us up cutting grass and all this stuff, but I mean, you're looking at 22.5%. Well, no, I take that back because part of it is from us. So you're looking at a 10% difference. Is that, I mean, how, should we not look and see if we can put this out for bid or negotiate something to the next contract?
So we talked about that, and the idea would be for 4 mowing cycles, we would be responsible to mow every one of those locations. I don't have the manpower to do that, because if we had to rebid it, we would have to remove the job from our current vendor.
So how long is this for?
This is through the end of this calendar year. I would lose 4 mowing cycles right in the middle of grow.
No,
and
I'm not going to do that. That's not what I'm asking. I was just trying to figure, okay.
That's why we didn't do it that way. This is a service contract. We're not required to bid it out, but we bid it out through
Can we-
GOMO to
can
get the
we-
best price.
can we
We're
give them
saving
another
$150,000 from what we spent
Can we
last
give them
year.
another 6 months and then put it out for rebid?
We're rebidding in January.
No, that's 6 months, yeah, we're good then. That's it.
Any other questions or comments? I got a motion and a second. All in favor? I'm sorry. Any objection? There being none, motion carries. I do want to say for clarification, I'm sorry.
And I guess as for this, what Joe was saying, I guess what he's asking, I could be wrong, that, did they underbid on purpose?
No. So he underbid because he wanted to get all of the work.
Well, that's why everybody would underbid, but if you can't do it for that, I'm sorry, it's your turn.
Yeah, so I guess what Joe's asking, try to narrow the question down. Did they underbid on purpose and intend to come back and say, we need to increase the contract?
No. So we were more or less okay with not fixing these errors until we rebid. But because we knew we had to add cuts for airline highway, we figured we might as well get the maps right and get the bids right. So when we do this again next year, we do have a better idea of the value of each of those cuts. We know what we're going to pay, generally speaking, on a price per acre to cut every one of our sites. We've been doing this for 3 years. When this vendor came in and bid 50% less than we thought we were going to pay, we thought we were going to have a lot more problems than we're currently having. So this contract amendment up to catch these sites that we missed and to add the cuts to airline, we're still saving $120,000 from what we thought we were going to spend. He did not do it intentionally because he didn't know we were going to change the map. I mean, it was just an error.
Anything else? I got a motion and a second. Any objection? Again, that carries. For clarification, any item on the agenda that is approved by the council is approved to be forwarded to the full council for final approval. This is a committee approval, okay? Item D, approval of renewal of services contract between Ascension Parish Government and Lifehouse Staffing for a term of 1 year with an option to renew for 1 consecutive year after the 1-year period ends. Compensation for the term of this agreement shall not exceed $149,500. Mr. King, motion by Joel. Second. I got a second by Michael. Any questions? We didn't hear it, but he did say he seconded that. Michael?
Yeah,
Any questions for Michael?
it's just a renewal of what we had done over the past year. They've been awesome to work with. We're super excited to keep it going.
Okay. Any questions? Any objections? There be none, the motion carries. We'll go to the full council for final approval. Item E, approval of ordinance to declare various movable items on the attached list as surplus. Lynn Timmons. Good evening.
Good evening. I believe that you should have the Exhibit A with a list of items that we would wish to be declared surplus. If you have any questions on any particular item, I'll do my best to help or answer any questions.
Okay. Motion by Aaron to approve, second by Terry. Any objection? There being none, motion carries. Item E, approval of the ordinance to declare, that was it, item E. Item F, approval to renew a master services contract between Ascension Parish Government and Trash Rangers of Louisiana Commercial LLC for 1 year beginning on September 1st, 2023, with an option to renew for 1 year after the 1 year period ends. The total contract shall not exceed $165,000. Mr. Mullis. Motion by Joel.
Second.
Second by Michael. Any questions for Mr. Mullis? Any objections? Terry has a question. Go ahead.
Mr. Mullins, was this bid?
No, not this. We have the option to renew it. And we're doing the same thing we did last year with the initial contract and then the change order we did. So it's the same thing that we ended up with for this year.
Mr. Law.
So when we have another option after this, when will this be bid? Or are we just gonna keep rolling it over without ever bidding it out?
I think that right now, they're looking at it and how it's been working this past year with them. I would like to say that we just continue doing it till we end up utilizing all of our options.
And how many more options do we have?
I believe we have 3.
And just to clarify, we bid this out, or let's not say bid, we did quotes because it's a service. We did the quotes last year, we analyzed them, we brought them before, and so I think as a lot of things, we kind of envisioned it at least as a 3-year, like most of the contracts. So this is the 2nd year, it's the same amount as Randy said, so we will definitely do an evaluation for sure at the end of 3 years. We've gone from a booklet of complaints to 0. Which is amazing. And so it's been a big load off of our staff to not have to deal with issues. And so far things are going really well with this. And so far the recycling on the West Bank, has been handled. That's been great. So everything we've added has gone well. So we're still very happy with the service.
Any other discussion, questions? I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any objection? There being none, that motion carries. Item G, bid results and approval to enter into a contract for Bonadona, Cataldo drainage improvements with the lowest responsive bid submitted by MTC Construction LLC in the amount of $1,401,442.
Good afternoon, Council.
Okay,
On June 8, 2023, the Purchasing Department received 4 bids for the Bonadona Cataldo drainage. project. After review, the purchasing department and the public works department recommends accepting the lowest responsive bid submitted by MTC Construction LLC, and to authorize the parish president to enter into any agreement or applicable contract for this project.
Any questions?
Okay.
Bid that one?
Sir?
Did anyone else bid that project?
Yeah, we have 4 bids.
Four bids?
Yes, sir.
What was the next,
The next one was, $1,622,252.15 by King Company.
what's our, what do we look at in our limited change orders? Did we ever put that on there, on these contracts?
I can't answer that question.
Patrick?
Just so the council's aware, this is a LWI grant project.
Yeah, it's the West Bank from the,
Yeah,
that's why I'm
so-
asking, 'cause Coach isn't here, so I got to cover
Okay,
it.
well, I just want to make sure y'all's aware that this is a watershed project.
Okay.
Yeah, I think typically in our contracts, and I'm looking over at Kenneth too, we put in a 10%, limit. I don't know if you remember, Kenneth, if that's correct, in our standard contracts.
Okay, I'm good.
Go ahead, Chase.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, didn't we get like 1.1, 1.2 million for this job? I see we're a little over budget. Where's the rest of the money gonna come from?
CD.
You talking about the meet the bid price?
Yeah,
We went back to the fund and did an amendment, and they authorized the additional money through the grant.
okay, perfect. Thank you.
And I'm gonna give a shout out to Hermina and Dean for getting this done, because that was a question, how are we gonna fund the excess? And they took the initiative to go back to the state and, get that excess. So that was a win for the parish.
Perfect.
Good.
Good job, thank you.
Okay. I have a motion by
I had a question, John.
Terry, I'm sorry.
Should we have any experience with this contractor? Dean, have you had any working relationship with them previously?
No, ma'am, I've never worked with this one.
Any reputational issues?
I'll be honest with you, I haven't even met them yet, other than the initial walkthrough. We will have a pre-con with them, and, I'm gonna be overseeing the job. So I'll make sure they get it done and done right.
Yeah, we appreciate that. We can't have what we had in Travis's district with a contractor that has not been able to fulfill his obligations for years now. So, especially with this kind of money being contributed by the federal government and the state. So thank you very much. We look forward to updated reports on the progress of this
Not a problem.
project. Thank you.
Joel?
Yeah, I still had a question about it. Sorry about that. Just to kind of echo from what Ms. Kazu was saying, do we have any jobs or anything to show that they have even the ability or the equipment or the manpower to do this type of work?
They had to meet the contract requirements to show, X number, I think it was 5 years of previous work in this line of work. So, yeah, they did have to show they had prior experience in the work.
Okay.
It's a contract requirement. And we also require that the personnel themselves, the mechanics and stuff, have X number of years in a certain craft that they work in order to be on the job.
Yes, sir.
I think so. Any other questions, discussion? Joel, I think you made a motion. I don't know if we got a second on it or not. Terry, second. Any further discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Item H, approval for change order number 2, Angelo and Son Electrical Service for OEP Backup Power Electrical Connection Project, Parish Project number PM-22-03-001. Increase the number of days by 74 days for the new substantial completion date of 3/15/23 due to delays in receiving an automatic transfer switch, which was received and installed on February 17, 2023 by contractor. No change to contract price. Dean? Motion by Michael, second by Chase. Any questions?
That's all it was is, the project
We ordered a transfer switch. It had to be an external transfer switch, which requires being stainless. And we got a delivery date. We planned the project around the delivery date, and it was like 6 months later than what we actually got it.
So we just got it, but it says
Yeah,
here.
it's in, it's done, everything's finished. We just needed to add these days
Okay.
so they could do the final billing, and then we'll bring y'all the substantial if we're still doing them.
There's no change in the contract price or anything
No,
like that?
sir, no
Just extra
change.
days? Okay.
Just adding time.
Any questions? Any objection? There being none, that motion carries. Item I, approval to amendment number 2 of the master contract for professional services with Multistudio LLC of Louisiana for an extension of the contract through December 31st, 2023. Dean.
Yeah, this is for our early learning center, and all this is the engineering firm, you know, from the time they finish the job, by the time we finish all the documentation and line drawings, they're gonna push past their contract. So we just asking to extend the contract.
Motion by Joel, second by Chase. Any discussions? Any objection? There being none, that motion carries. Item J, approval of change order number 1 to All Electric for Crescent Place subdivision lighting repairs to increase the contract time for additional 60 days due to equipment ownership between the parish and Entergy. No change to the contract price. Motion by Michael, second by Terry. Any questions? Any objections? There being none, that motion carries. Item K, approval to amendment number 8 of the professional services contract with McKim Creed, Inc. for utilities engineering and technical support to extend the contract term through August 3rd, 2024. Motion by Dempsey, second by Chase. Any questions? Any objection? There being none, that motion carries.
Thank you.
Item L, approval of amendment number 4 to the agreement for psychiatric substance abuse and mental health services of Dr. J. Robert Barnes, Mental Health East, for additional funds through the end of the contract term in the amount of $8,191.28 for a new contract not to exceed the amount of $278,072.56. Motion by Joel, second by Chase. Any questions? Any objection? There being none, that motion carries. Item M, approval for renewal of a contract with Southern Strategy Group to provide services to the legislative branch of state government to include but not limited to analysis, advice, advocacy, facilitation, and monitoring for a term of 1 year beginning August 1st, 2023, and ending July 31st, 2024, for a monthly fee of $6,000 for a not to exceed amount of $72,000. Patrick, motion by Chase. Second by Michael. Any discussion? Councilman Lawler.
Yeah, I've got some concerns about this. First of all, we already have a contract with a lobbyist that Mr. Diaz approved in February of 2023 for a not to exceed of $4,900, one of these typical, hey, let's get in under $50,000. And I thought we were trying to get away from that, sneaking little lobbyists or any contracts in under $50,000. What is this? We've got another lobbyist firm that we're going to have now for $72,000, so we're looking at paying potentially $122,000 for lobbying firms over the next year. That's one of the issues.
Yeah, so before last session, we ended up with 2 different lobbying groups, realizing we needed somebody to focus on the executive side and somebody to focus on the legislative side. Southern Strategies is the firm that focused during the session for us on the legislative side. And this is one contract that I'm excited to renew because we had some great successes during this last session. The other contract was for more of the executive working with the governor, and there are some other issues. During this last session, just to give you a little idea, and we've talked about a little bit about this with some of y'all, in capital outlay, we ended up getting about $30 million in Schedule 50, which we haven't had since 2018, which is directly for Ascension Parish, which is controlled by us. Almost $12 million of that was cash. State General Fund Direct, which is money we can almost spend immediately as opposed to The P5, we also got about 18 million of that. That's future funding to trail this funding. So we did very well with getting actual cash instead of P1, which has to go to bond commission and get other approvals. In the supplemental bill, which is a different appropriation, it's not capital outlay, it's actually a general appropriation. We ended up, the parish in total got 3.4, but Ascension Parish government got 1.8 for a courthouse renovation. I want to give a lot of credit to Rodney Braxton with his firm. I've worked with him for a long time. When you talk about the credible firms, and I worked at the Capitol for 9 years, he's one of the names that rises to the top. And what he allowed us to do was to open some of the doors that we previously weren't able to open with the Speaker's office, the President. He worked with our delegation daily. He talked to me daily about these issues. And between those we worked. And I know you're kind of laughing about the Speaker because he is from our parish. But when it's the last day of session and they're making the final decisions, he was one of the few people that actually got an audience to plead our case. Not a lot of people get that access, and that helped us. We did lose some money. We've talked about that at the end, but it could have been worse. And so I want to thank Rodney and his team. And so the thought of this moving forward is we now have an in with the Capitol. We have some presence. But we have to get started drafting bills because there's a lot of bills that we're going to probably bring to y'all that we'd like to get going. And we've already got meetings set up in August to start drafting those so we can get those prepared and get those sponsors and try to move the parish forward or work with the police jury. We also know there's going to be new leadership. So working on all those issues is going to need to start early. We started too late last year. And that's why we ended up having the two different contracts coming at the kind of the last minute. We now know we cannot start that late. We have got to get ahead of this game. So moving forward, this, as far as I know, this will be the contract moving forward for our lobbying.
Okay, but we still have another contract that was just stuck in there for another $50,000.
There's another one that's ongoing. I don't think that one's going to be renewed. This will be the one we renewed, and this will, Southern Strategies will be our lobbyist for next session.
Well, I'd certainly feel better if we would cancel the other one, because if I remember correctly, we already had a contract with the other group, and we were paying them probably twice as much combined. So why are we paying them so much more before? Now we're paying them less than half.
Because we ended up dividing it into the two groups instead of asking the other company to do both executive and legislative. We said, look, we have some needs, especially with the Early Childhood Center, for the administration to have audience with them. And that lobbyist has helped us with that side as well. With the Early Learning Center, the governor was at the opening. He has been there every step of the way. We're going to get even more funding, and we did get more funding through the executive branch for the Early Learning Center. And if we can keep that funding up, and again, those are some tough roads that for anybody to navigate. So their side actually helped us as well too, especially with that Early Learning Center, with the governor, the executive staff, and the executive departments.
But if we're not going to use that other firm, don't we have a 30-day cancellation? Can we cancel it so we're not at risk of?
We have termination clauses in all of our contracts. And I'm not saying that we're not going to use them. What I said was we're not going to renew them.
Okay. Well, we didn't know there was a contract in the first place. I mean, it's just kind of, that was something that John Diaz did right under $50,000, under $50,000, which I know this administration, when campaigning said, hey, we're going to stop doing those little contracts like that, but, we're right back into it again. The other thing, though, is why, can we bid this out? I mean, there are a lot of lobbying firms out there. Why wasn't this bid out?
So last year, we did try, but again, we kind of waited too late. By the time they came in, and look, I'll be honest, nothing would have changed if we would have. Based on the proposals, it wasn't even close, but there was such a short amount of time with the session starting and we're already behind. We said, well, look, let's just cancel the RFP because we were running short. Southern Strategies did bid on that, and so moving forward, like I said, the success this year, and look, I was there for 9 years. I was in the trenches. I ran the Appropriation and Ways and Means Committees for the House and those staff. Ascension Parish did well this year, and so I think we built on that success. Rodney's a big name at the Capitol. I've enjoyed working with him through the years, and I don't think there's a need to bid this out.
What
It's-
about getting a better price? We just heard Mr. Compton say we bid it out to get the best price. We literally
I'm
just
not
said
going to
that.
speak for Rodney, but I think he's doing some charity work for us at this point. We may have called in a few favors. This is a very, when I talk to parishes around the state, we're getting a good rate. This is, I was worried he wasn't going to renew at the same rate. I'm not making eye contact with him right now, so.
No, I understand, and it's nothing against him, it's just the process, that we seem to be lacking the process. There was a fight against these under $50,000 contracts, yet we're doing that right at the, it's a suspicious timing on that. And then we've got another one that's.
State law, this is a service contract. We probably went above and beyond last time when we were even picking these, and so we've still done more than state law requires. I feel completely confident with my background that this is a good deal. I mean, $30 million is, for this small amount of money every month, and next year, we're hoping to get even more because we're working on a strategy to try to help the legislature understand how much money we give to the state, and let's compare it to how much money we're getting back. Ascension Parish is a big contributor, and Rodney's going to be a big part of that plan with us to make sure, I hate to say our fair share, but we're going to be more aggressive next year.
I wouldn't overlook the benefit of having the Speaker of the House as from Ascension Parish. It'd help if our entire, we had a legislator vote against this bill, from Ascension Parish, which is not helpful to the parish at all, and it cost us. We had, so that's problematic. Maybe we need to work on them a little bit more and to get them to work on things. I'd rather see things like this get bid out, especially, we have another contract for $50,000. I don't support this now for another reason, is that we have a governor's election coming up. Let's see who's going to be elected as governor. Certain lobbyists work better with certain parties. We don't know what it's going to be. I'd rather table this and,
Well, I can tell you again from my experience, it doesn't matter who's the governor. With Rodney Braxton, he's with all sides. We're very lucky because there are a few lobbyists that it does not matter who's in office. He is objective. He's worked with every governor since I started 27 years ago, and he's been effective with all of them. So, I think we're lucky to have somebody like Rodney. I would hate to lose this opportunity, but that's my 2 cents, just because this was my world for 27 years, 9 of them directly at the Capitol working with these individuals.
I agree that they're doing a good job. I remember campaign season was this kind of stuff should be bid out, and that's what was talked about. We'd avoid these $50,000 contracts, and we have the other one,
Well,
was
and I think
Louisiana Lobbying Solutions.
We need to
and
watch the term bid because we're not required to bid, and so a lot of these we do quotes, and that's what
Well, we can get a quote.
that's our internal process. And we actually went farther than that last year, and look, that ended up with this individual. So to me, this is a renewal. The process led us to Southern Strategies, and so I would like to renew it for another year. Let's not lose the momentum. I would hate to lose the momentum.
I have a suggestion.
Yes, sir.
It would be helpful to this committee, as well as the full council, which is this committee, to do kind of an ROI report. You say we invest so much and we're getting so much more out of our, because of the lobbyists. It would be helpful to say, hey, we got $3 million for our early childhood intervention program, and, we've only invested so much. I think it would be helpful if you could do a report. I don't know if it'd be quarterly, and when they're in session.
Well, I think we asked for that last time. That's part of my concern, is we asked for updates, and we said we're going to get them, and we haven't gotten any updates from lobbyists to let us know what's going on.
Not necessarily from the lobbyists, but from.
But even during sessions.
I think we talked about, we'll during session, look, it's hot and heavy, and it's moving along. If you want an update, we have no problem doing that. I thought we had talked about if we have a request during the session, we would come and present it. Maybe that was a misunderstanding. We have some summaries that I can send out. Look, I've got a spreadsheet. I tracked with Rodney every capital outlay, every supplemental appropriation bill. I actually tracked every bill that affects Ascension Parish, or every entity, and in HB2, it's a total of $285 million of capital outlay between all the priority levels. So those are the things we can definitely send out. Happy to do that. That's not a problem.
We've asked for that, though. We asked for that the last time this came up with the lobbying solutions, and we haven't gotten it. That's my concern, is that we as a council ask for things.
Well, I guess
the
we'd have to talk
administration
about
doesn't
what you
give it
want,
to
because
us.
during session, I can tell you my spreadsheet changed every day. I would have hated to send you one of my spreadsheets, because every day there's a new change, there's a new committee, there's a new process. So I think we probably need to sit down, and maybe we can sit down with our chairman and talk about what exactly would you want to see during the session? Because look, I'll overload you with information. I can give you more updates, and so can Rodney. That is not an issue. Whatever y'all are wanting to see, we are more than happy to. I typically do an end of session wrap, and, last week I was on vacation. I would have loved to have done that today, but I'll do it next meeting. And, so yeah, I'm definitely open to those conversations.
I think I'd be curious to find out, like, the bills that we're talking about in August. We don't know anything about that. We don't know, obviously it's planned. This administration has really kept the council in the dark, and that needs to change. So I don't have an objection to it, because I do think they did a good job. I have more an objection the way the administration has handled this.
All right. Any other
And not you,
questions or
Patrick.
comments? Any objection? There being none, the motion carries. Item N, contract report for all contract agreements entered into in the month of June. Contract report was sent to the committee members ahead of the meeting. Any questions submitted should have been answered before the meeting. If there are any further questions, they can contact legal or finance. No motion is necessary here. I have a question from Chase.
I'm sorry. I hit my button 1 minute too early, but before you start item 6A, I see Lucy Cason, HR director. I actually just want to introduce her as a Queen Bee dancing star, the 2023 dancing champ over there. So, yeah, on the next agenda, maybe we ought to fix that, Lucy Cason. Huh? That's
I think she
right.
should,
That's it.
show us what she can do.
I got a fan in the back of the truck.
Okay, moving along. Item 6, financial reports, parish position report, second quarter, 2023. Lucy.
Thank you. I object, or whatever the proper language is, to Councilman Chase's suggestion. But before I get started, I would like to thank Ashley and Megan. This report that you guys received a couple weeks ago, I know it's a lot of information, and it's largely manually put together. Each individual section has a report that they run that they make sure is correct. And so just to make sure you have the most accurate information that's possible, they do a lot of manual checking of this. And you guys asked for some accountability on a quarterly basis of this, and this is probably, I think, the second year that we've been doing this. So if this is not what you guys want to see, just please let me know, because we're always trying to get it better for you. So this first section, just to remind you, we are in second quarter. We ended first quarter with a total of 420 employees, and we're ending as of June 1st with 424. Now this amount varies almost daily sometimes, especially in the summer, because it's hot, and a lot of times people don't like to cut grass in the summer, so they'll resign. So our number is typically somewhere between 430 and 420. And as of June 1st, it was 424. Any questions on that first section? Now, the second section will be the first time that you've seen the cost of our merits. So this was the second year that we have our performance pay, and it was very successful this year. You'll see the cost of those that were in the first pay period of April. And you'll also notice that we've had 7 promotions now. That this is from 1 January to June 25th. So some of these you saw in first quarter. I would like to also say that of the 7 promotions here, 5 of these were internal competitive promotions from attrition, where we went out and posted for jobs and where we promoted internally. So this has been a very good quarter for our internal employees. Are there any questions about this first quarter employee changes?
Any questions? Okay. Thank you so much. We appreciate the report. Item B, financial update. Open Finance can be found at that website. Finance Chairman Mason, you got any comments?
I don't think she was finished.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you not finished?
Not,
I apologize.
That's
I thought
okay.
you were.
it's okay. It's all right.
I don't have the report in front of me.
The third section is basically, it says the month of June, but it's meant to give you a payroll amount for the end of that second quarter. I wanted to point out, if anybody caught it, that it was about $1 million over than it typically is, but there's 3 pay periods in June. So if you saw that, that's why. Nothing new on there. Overtime totals, we're about 58%. We're right,
I have,
Oh, okay.
Councilman Lawler, you have questions?
Question, I wasn't able to hit the button. I thought I hit it before. Did we hire a new transportation director?
we hired a chief transportation engineer. Actually, we were recruiting for both of those positions at the same time, and whichever one that we found that was going to be the best fit is who would act as the transportation director. So yes, we have hired a transportation director. He started on Monday.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. And so I was at that last section, the overtime totals. I was a little concerned at first about the exempt overtime being a little higher than normal. However, when I did the calculations, we're at only 58% of what we were last year at half of the year. So I'm not concerned with our overtime totals to date. We have a very robust system for requesting overtime approval to begin with, and it's followed. And so I trust in the process that we have right now for overtime. Any questions? Now I'm done.
Now you finished.
Well, and I will just say again, want to give credit to Lucy, to Megan, to Ashley. They spent a lot of time getting this report together, pulling it together quarterly. And, you know, we worked on this for a long time and got your input. So as Lucy said, hopefully this meets your needs. If there's anything you'd rather see or, you know, some other information, just let us know. But so far, I think we've hit everything from all the questions that we were asked, you know, during that process.
John, I have a question, not relative to the position report, but would it be the expectation of the Transportation Committee that we'll meet our new Director of Transportation on Thursday night?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. Joel?
Excellent.
Yes, so we're 58% less overtime than paid last year, is what you said?
So what
Or
we are.
For
and
the
we're-
whole year of last year?
For the whole year. So we're right at 58% of what we spent last year, and we're at, you know, right at 50% of the year.
Okay, and, I mean, y'all know how I feel about overtime, but,
What's that?
y'all know how I feel about overtime, just
I know how I
with
feel
these,
about it.
with all the contract labor that we have, hopefully we can see that be less than we had last year, is the ultimate number. I know a lot of that is grass cutting in that season.
Well, actually, a
is-
lot of it is a little bit, or not a little bit, a lot out of our hands with some of the requirements that we have for 24/7 manning, or at the water plant, at the jail. Those things cannot be avoided.
No, and like I said, those
Yeah.
things, I get it.
Yeah,
But where we can, get contract labor to help.
yeah.
Because, I mean, I'm all about giving fair wages and that and just throwing money away. But thank you, good job.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, moving along, item 6B, financial update, only open today. Committee members can check the link that's included. And if you have any questions, follow up with the finance staff. And that should do it.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion from Michael to adjourn, whispering, second by Terry. Motion, we adjourn.